They had some. One was stripping. Okay, well, thanks for the information. That's the only job information you have? It was. No, they had some other interesting things, none of which I wanted to do. So one of the girls said, look, I'm going to take you down to some office. They're going to give you some money and some food stamps. When those people told me that they were going to give me $250 for me and a kid, I'm like, how are we supposed to live off of $250 a month? And then you want me to come work for it too? So I decided not to do that either. I mean, at least I had a hairdresser's license. I could talk somebody and let me get them a perm, or something. I was like 4 perms a month, or something like that. But I didn't take any of their solutions, but there was a lady at my church who invited me to a financial literacy class. And this is why I know the power of financial literacy. You know how the Bible says, God said he was going to give them the power to get wealth? But my power came from the financial literacy class that I took. Now, I had to tell you how bad it was to help you understand how good it is now. Because I did eventually, to be honest with you, when I lived in that neighborhood and in my mother's apartment, my plan was to get out and never come back. I had no intentions. Now people are like, you gonna move a little closer? No. Maybe a little, but not too close. But I will tell you this. I took this financial literacy class. My car had gotten repossessed. I was at the buy here, pay a heck of a lot here place. They say buy here, pay now, pay here. No, it's buy here, pay a whole lot here. 24, 26% interest. I have been there. And the financial literacy class, when I got there and the lady began to teach me about money and about credit, I think I had 6 credit cards. And I really didn't know how to manage them. In fact, she asked me to tear them up, and I told her I was not tearing up 1 credit card. I need these cards. But when she talked me into calling the credit card companies and asking them how much interest I was paying on each one of them credit cards, I'm like, 28%? Are you serious? 26%, And I like buy now, pay later, and I like buy now, pay never even better. I wasn't paying them, so I don't know why I was, I don't know why I was upset about the interest rate, but I was. But in any event, it is so much better now. I was recently approved for a mortgage with Wells Fargo. Thank you, Wells Fargo. My credit score is in the 700s, and I teach people every day not only how to raise their credit score, but how to maintain. When you get to a certain level, you can get there, but can you stay there? And that's one of the most important things. So I would like to thank Operation Hope and Wells Fargo for the opportunity that I have every day to go in and help people who are or may be where I once was. Thank you. Have a great evening.
How you like that? That's what it's all about, right? Making change. We're very excited. Thank you, Wells Fargo. And Michelle is doing a great job as one of our Hope Inside coaches there in Stone Mountain. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome from Wells Fargo their head of diverse segments and representation and inclusion, Ms. Christy Fargo. Come on out, Christy. Give her a round of applause. And the man and the reason for why we're here for 30 years, it's his vision at Operation Hope, founder, chairman, and CEO, I'm in trouble, CEO John Hope Bryant.
Hello, man. Hello, Atlanta. Come on now. The Bible suggests be hot or be cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation, even God does not like mediocrity. Come on now, act like you're meeting your wife or your husband for the first time, or your new employer. Somebody giving you a loan for your first time. Hello, Atlanta. You're in the ballroom. That Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Andrew Young, who will be with us tomorrow, he was just with us early tonight, held their last planning staff meeting before he went off for the Poor People's Campaign and unfortunately in '68 was assassinated. You are in the same ballroom.
Wow.
Everything we do in the next 2 days is intentional. 3 days. It's intentional. It's about you. Now, I have a little bit of a problem. When Christy was introduced, she walked out and you like, let me explain something to you. Let me break this down. Wells Fargo Bank has almost $2 trillion in assets. In 170 years, she's the first black female ever to report to the CEO and the executive management team. She's the first black female CEO of a money center bank's mortgage company in the history of America. She's the first black to be female to be CEO and chairman of the Mortgage Bankers Association. And they just gave her another job at Wells Fargo, which I don't understand, which has this complicated title, head of diverse segment, basically head of black and brown folk stuff. And because of her and other work, you got also other sheroes in the audience from Wells Fargo. Darlene Goins is here somewhere from Wells Fargo. Stand up, Darlene. Stand up. The Black Inclusion Initiative. You've got change in America, and it's sitting right here.
Like we're in church.
Oh no, we're going to have some church.
It is Sunday. We can say amen.
It's amen. I don't want you to be casual about this. The next movement is about opportunity. First Reconstruction, freedoms, 1800. Second Reconstruction, access, 1960s. Third Reconstruction, opportunity, 2020, 2030. You're living in a moment in history and you're meeting history makers. From the civil rights in the streets to civil rights in the suites. So let's have a conversation.
Let's do.
I'm not going to be easy on you.
Okay.
Because Wells Fargo's got a complicated history.
Indeed.
We're turning a corner, rainbows after storms. You're part of that, and I commend Charlie and Bill and all for the changes they made. And to pick you was an interesting selection because they could have gone safe. But you are what I call a real sister, S-I-S-T-A. Tell us about mom and dad. Tell us about you, the real story.
Well, so I'd like to tell people I am the daughter of a track coach and a stay-at-home mom. My father has the distinction of being the first black head coach to lead a Division I major university. He was the track coach at the University of Arizona. And so, yeah, we can give it up for Dad. So my father was named, so I was born in Compton, California. Yeah, straight out of Compton. So my whole family, both sides, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone's in South Central Los Angeles. And so went from 99.9% black in Compton to Tucson, Arizona, which was 99.9% white. So my upbringing was traversing both worlds. So I wasn't, after, like when we'd go back to Compton, they'd be like, well, why do you talk funny? And it was like, what do you mean how I talk funny? And so, after a couple of days of being there, I'd pick up my South Central slang and my mother would be like, don't you change for anyone. You be who you are. And so grew up never being black enough for the black kids or white enough for the white kids. So I just learned to be authentically me. And however that kind of showed up and was.
Now, my mother's here, Juanita Smith, sitting right here, whose credit score is 857, by the way. My mother says she's not black, she's green. I once asked Christy, my mother, if she's gonna get married again. She divorced my dad over money. She said, yeah, baby, if I get married again, he's gonna be a BMW. I said, Mom, don't be vain. She said, no, baby, a black man working. So, Mom was a bad sister, but Mom and I remember a different Compton. Like, clearly you grew up in the bougie Compton. Like there was a stucco Compton.
There was no bougie Compton where we were.
You're not in the bougie Compton?
No.
Okay.
126 in El Segundo?
Oh no, that's hardcore.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not bougie.
So where did you get your self-esteem from? Where did you get that confidence from? And how does that in the way you grew up and what you saw, the two worlds you lived in, how does that inform how you live and lead today? Or do you leave her at the door? Do you leave Christy at the door and come up with talk to us?
I don't, yeah, and I actually, when I see people do that, I actually tell them to stop. I think if you try to be somebody at work and somebody at home, you're not going to be good, your authentic self either way. And so for me, it's always about show up true to who you are, because that incongruence, and I know we talk about in corporate America the black tax, like we got to act a certain way or say a certain thing, and I've never found that worked for me because I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember who I was supposed to be, when I was supposed to be, so I just showed up to be who I was. And I think that's really important. My confidence came from my parents. I mean, they told us and raised us. I tell people my parents didn't raise kids, they coached us. And my parents said you could be anything that you wanted to be if you put your mind to it and you strived hard. My dad used to always say, what the mind can perceive, the will can achieve. And so we grew up just believing that there were no limits. And my parents, I have zero memories growing up of my parents actually telling me no. Everything was about consequences. All right, you want to do that? Then here's what the consequences of that are. But if you do this, here are the consequences. And we always got to choose. So they were always teaching us critical thinking, making our choices, living with the consequences of your choices.
That's deep.
And so that just helped grow my esteem to just be who I was.
So no knows, just if you do it, here are the consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And we got beat now. Those consequences were severe, but you just, you got to do what you wanted to do.
Well, we call it spanking. We call it, wasn't
No, we got beat. It was corporal punishment. I didn't get spankings. Mom, you were kind on him. I didn't get spankings. We got beat if we didn't do things right.
Yeah, you tell my mom would tell you to go back and get a switch from the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And you came back with a little twig, she'd go get half the tree.
Yeah. My mom used Hot Wheel tracks. Do you guys remember those Hot Wheel tracks? Yeah, Mama used Hot Wheel tracks for us.
Oh yeah, no, I was more concerned about the gangs. Sorry, I was more concerned about my mother than the gangs around the corner. I feared my mother more, and that my mother told me she loved me every day of my life. Clearly, that's what you had, and that there's nothing more powerful than a child being told they are loved. You start taking no for vitamins.
Yeah.
So let's now transition. We're going to try and cover a lot of content in a short period of time. Let's transition now to the version of you that's sitting in front of us, who's helping to lead one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the top 2 or 3 money center banks, I think arguably in the world, dealing with something that affects all of us, which is mortgages, home ownership, but also brand. We just opened our 200th location with you, proud of that. Charlie came out honored by that, good guy. And he's helping to pivot. But talk to us about the pivot from what? Where are we at now, and where are we going with you?
Yeah. So I'll start with the story of when I joined Wells Fargo. So I was with Flagstar Bank, and George Floyd had actually just been murdered. And I think, like many people, I was contemplating, like, that just hit me, like, rocked me to my core. And we had those series of deaths leading up to George Floyd, and that one just rocked me to my core because we watched a man take his last breath on the streets of the United States of America, and it seemed like nobody cared. And then we saw what happened. A lot of people cared, but for me, that was a really hard week. And I remember just thinking all week, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I process this? What do I do with this? And, I was feeling I've had a life of this unbelievable opportunity and privilege, yet I'm a part of a community and race that, like, you can step outside and be killed for just being who you are. And I was struggling back and forth, and I remember just thinking and praying to God, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I kept hearing, housing, you're where you need to be. Housing, you're where you need to be. But at the same time, how many of you, Pastor Mike Jr. had that song, Big? And every time I turned around, I'd be praying, and then I'd be in the closet, I'd come out, and Big was on the radio. I'd go for a run, I'd come out, and Big was on the radio. I just kept saying, what's up with Big? What's up with Big? And literally a week to the day of George Floyd's murder, I got the call about the Wells Fargo job. And I was like, okay, Lord, I guess that's big. If, I want to put more blacks in homes. Home ownership is still the single largest financial purchase many people will ever make. It is still the best pathway that we have to wealth and generational wealth. And I was leading a mortgage company then, and Wells Fargo is the largest bank mortgage company in the country. And so during my interview, I interviewed with Charlie and I interviewed with others.
Charlie's the CEO of Wells Fargo.
The CEO, yeah. And when they said, why do you want this job? I said, I want to put more black people in homes. And I was thrilled that their answer, every person, yeah. Well, and I was thrilled, thank you. But I was thrilled that every person's answer was, great, come do that here. And so that told me that was a different Wells Fargo. And, I came in and, I was pretty bold with it. I was like, where's my money? Where's my team? What's the numbers look like? How do we start to drive this? Where's the plan? Where are the products? And I've gotten support every step of the way. And, the special purpose credit program, when HUD came out and clarified the rulemaking that you can do lending on the basis of race through special purpose credit programs, we were one of the first lenders in the market with it. And Charlie gave me $150 million. Yeah, let's give it up for that. But what we did is we looked at our portfolio and we saw the blacks in our portfolio that had not refinanced over the last 2 years, the lowest refinance market in the history, right? Lowest interest rate market in history. And we had a significant number of blacks in our portfolio, over 60,000, that had not taken advantage of the refinance. Wow. And they were sitting at 6% and 7% interest rates. And so Charlie gave me $150 million, and we said we're going to buy down people's interest rate to 3.75%, and we're still in the market with it. We actually just rolled out our GSE product last Tuesday. Interest rates are at 7%. We're still buying down interest rates to 3.75% to get people to refinance their mortgages. So that's real money, real commitment, doing work for our community.
So we only have about a minute left. We could do this one session all night because 41% of all blacks own a home. I want that to sink in with you for a minute. 70% plus of whites own a home, 75%. Every group does better than us. The number one way, if you don't remember anything tonight, remember this. Go home and tell everybody you know. The number one way to build wealth in America is home ownership.
Yes.
My grandmother on my mother's side was a slave. My mother owned a my great-grandmother. My grandmother owned a shotgun shack. My mother owned 7 homes. I own 700. That's not an accident, that's role modeling.
Yes.
Same thing happened on my father's side. Grandfather was a sharecropper. Dad owned a business. I'm an entrepreneur. It's role modeling. Success is a habit. So you are breaking some bad habits in the past in banking, and also Wells Fargo, again, made some mistakes. They've owned it. Mm-hmm. And now we see the bank pivoting in a powerful new direction. I think Dr. Chavis is in the audience, a civil rights leader in the 60s. He would never think that a bank would give access to credit, yet alone have somebody making credit decisions. He'd have to protest. He'd have to scream and holler. Now, I think what I'm hearing you saying, and I want you to take it here and give us a vision for the future and tell black women your opinion of how best to win. We used to think that revolution was the only way. What I'm hearing you say, come inside and let evolution be another way, right or wrong.
Yes, But I hesitated because I do think it's both. I think some of the revolution is we can't play safe. We can't do it our own. We can't do it we can't play the game the way they played the game. I think part of the reason of my success is I don't play by their rules. I write my own rules, and I have enough confidence to say that if it doesn't work for Wells Fargo, I can go somewhere else and do this. And I think they know that. And that's the power that we have. Like, we need to take back our power to say, if you don't want what I have to offer, there's another company, there's another bank down the street. Because the reality of this market is our communities, the Hispanic communities. This is the browning of America for real. Like the minority is going to be the majority. And so they need to understand how to speak to our communities. They need to understand how to market to our communities, what products with our communities. And so we have power and a voice like we never have before. And I think it's the opportunity to lean into that and to be bold about that. If we are in that room and I'm the only Black woman in the room, and if I act like them, then I've missed the opportunity to tell them what makes our brand different. And so that's the opportunity that we have, is when you're in the room, show up authentically who you are. Bring a different voice. Bring something different, and they'll listen to that because it is all about the green. Yeah. And if I have the best idea about how to advance additional business for Wells Fargo, that's an idea that they'll listen to. It doesn't matter that it's coming from a Black woman. So I think that's the opportunity that we all have, is when you're in the room, be intentional and make your voice count, and don't play it safe. That's the little revolution piece I think we still need to do.
And I'm convinced that Charlie Scharf is smart enough and Bill Daley are smart enough to make an attractive offer to you, to keep you there, which they have, but also to give you the environment where you can thrive. So I believe you'll be there for a long time. I believe it actually is a good company trying to do the right thing. I think you made the right choice. And I think this is the new movement. Like, what you do will last for generations. For generations.
Yeah. That's the impact that we're trying to have. This isn't about I want to put more people in homes, but this is about having lasting changes, not only for individuals, for families, but for communities, and impacting the generation.
And to make this real for you, Operation Hope is moving credit scores 50 to 100 points in 6 months to 18 months, debt down $2,600, savings up $400 to $1,000, making you bankable. And they've just ordered 120 Hope Inside locations nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you to Kristen.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, my friends.
Please welcome to the stage award-winning journalist and evening anchor for WSB-TV, Karen Greer.
Good evening, everyone. You look fabulous. What a night. You guys are out on a school night. You ready for this? Yes, this program is going to be remarkable. Just all the people that are going to be here. You're going to have a wonderful time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so good to be back at the Hope Global Forum and to see so many of you out there, so many friends, so many people that I've met since doing this before. You know, in 2020, Operation Hope launched a bold initiative, and that was to grow 1 million Black businesses by when? 2030. 1 million new Black businesses by when? 2030. That's right. The partner to sign on for this, Shopify, with a 10-year commitment. In a moment, we're going to watch some of the best entrepreneurs from around the country compete for cash and some other prizes. But first, we have someone very special we want to welcome to the stage, Mr. Brandon Davenport, head of Equitable Commerce Initiative for Shopify. I went that way too.
Wow. This is incredible. Hope Global Forum, how y'all feeling tonight? Love to hear it. I love to hear it. So I know it's raining outside, but it's about to rain a little bit in here because we got some money to give out tonight. I'm so excited for that. So, it's an honor to be here to represent Shopify and to embrace what it means to be an entrepreneur. First and foremost, I'd like to thank John for having a vision that brought us all here together. And for every great leader, they know the importance of having a great team. And so thank you to the Operation Hope team for putting this together with such detail and such care. We love working with you. Thank you. Back in 2020, at the heart of the most recent widespread advocacy for racial justice in this country, John had a vision. And he saw an opportunity to advance people in this country through entrepreneurship. The call went out for corporate participation. And because of the mission-aligned nature of that vision, Shopify answered that call. Shopify is a company that's making commerce better for everyone. And out of that, the 1 Million Black Business Initiative was born. An effort to create wealth, prosperity, and self-actualization. And we are proud to celebrate year 2 of this 10-year commitment. I am head of equitable commerce at Shopify, and my team leads Shopify's commitment to achieving the aims of the 1 Million Black Business Initiative. Our mission for our equitable commerce is to make successful entrepreneurship more accessible for Black and Indigenous entrepreneurs. In order to make commerce equitable, however, we must first acknowledge and then address the barriers that drive inequality, like lack of access to capital, mentorship networks, and location. And just like the people you're about to hear from in a few minutes, I too am a business owner. And I understand firsthand the challenges we face as Black entrepreneurs to start, build, and scale our businesses. But I also know firsthand our collective superpowers, being resourceful, relentless, setting the tone for the culture, and our deeply rooted connection to our community. Black businesses are winning, and they will continue to thrive. And today we celebrate successful entrepreneurship. But now imagine a world where we've eliminated the systemic barriers and leveled the playing field. For entrepreneurs to have equal access to capital, mentors, and unique selling opportunities that act as a catalyst for growth. While we can't change the course of history, we can do the work to make commerce better for everyone today, and we are. Let me not be mistaken, however. What we're talking about is not charity. It's a sound business strategy. Because when Black businesses are successful, as Americans, we are all successful. Achieving revenue parity in the U.S. would add an additional $190 billion to the GDP. That's a win-win opportunity. As we sit here and watch these entrepreneurs passionately tell us why they deserve to win this competition, I invite each of you to unite across industry, intellectual capital, and influence, to participate in lowering those barriers that hamper entrepreneurial success, whether it's personally or through your corporate wallet. Shop, partner, and invest in Black-owned businesses. Now, without further ado, let's get this pitch competition started. Thank you, everybody.
That's right. Let's do it, Brandon. Give Brandon another round of applause. Thank you. All right, we are going to get this competition started, so please welcome back to the stage the man to make it happen, Mr. Lance Triggs.
Giving out some cards for some coffee tonight. All right, well, are you ready? It's the pitch competition. We're so excited about these businesses coming from all around the United States, representing Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta, and many other cities. And so we're very excited. So let me introduce our judges. Can we have the judges come on out? You heard from Brandon Davenport with Shopify. Let's give him a round of applause. Michael Lang, who's partner in insurance services with April. Give him a round of applause. And we have Paul Dissencoin, Sr., who's the Associate Public Affairs and Strategic Research for PayPal. Now, Paul has done a great thing, because I thought we were giving out some, Starbucks gift cards. But thanks to Paul and PayPal, we're giving out some real money. I'm talking about some real money. So thank you, Paul. Thank you. Now, for our first business to come up, we're very excited. All the way from Seattle, Washington, Jasmine Richards with BLK Sunflower. Come on out, Jasmine.
Hello, hello.
Thank you. I love
So you have a luxury sensory experience
Thank you.
the palm of your hands. There you go. Little black boxes. Be scared. Don't be scared.
I know. I
promise is good. Promise is good. Wow. What an honor. Go ahead and roll the tape.
It's a beautiful box.
So never in a million years would I have thought my pandemic project would bring me to a space like this. Like, I remember going to pick up my son from school, and they said, listen here, keep him. You can't bring him back. I'm like, what? Who's supposed to watch my son while I work? Like, that's what you guys are supposed to do. So I managed to pull myself away from my 16-hour Netflix binge and then DoorDash, box wine. I was like, I have to do something. Money's getting low. Maybe $500 in my bank account. I made these candles a few months prior, and I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? I am going to put these candles up on a website. Maybe took me 48 hours, no experience. Shopify website at that, right? And it managed to work well. So I launched Black Sunflower April 2020, and it exploded. And I quickly became a fierce competitor in the candle market. I cleared $300,000 in just 18 months, was featured in multiple publications, over 50 publications at that, multiple interviews. Like, I never thought that this is where I would be. And here's the thing, if it was not for Shopify, Operation Hope, 1MBB, Shopify Capital, I would not be where I'm at today. As of today, I have paid off over $70,000 in Shopify loans from my business, which is crazy. But the bigger Black Sunflower got, I was like, hold on. I need to be able to help more people. And so June 22, yeah, that month, I launched Black Sunflower Business Academy, where I help small businesses start, elevate, and grow. But one thing remains consistent. If you are running all the hats in your business, you cannot be efficient. One of the biggest game changers was when I started using a fulfillment center. And that fulfillment center actually allowed me the opportunity to do all the things in my business. And in just 3 years, I generated 7 figures for the Black Sunflower brand. So my goal is to create small business-friendly fulfillment centers, and our focus will be on reliable packing, storing, and shipping for small businesses, and especially candle makers, because by 2028, it'll be a $9.8 billion business. And now listen here, when I see problems, I don't see them as problems, but it's an opportunity to change processes. As we know, youth violence is an urgent crisis that historically stems from lack of economic opportunities, right? So intervention rather than detention and suspension is also known to, you know what? That's how we get our youth to expand their minds. So instead of sitting idle, because we all know what happens with an idle mind, right? Our fulfillment centers will be operated by our youth, with the first one right here in Atlanta. So we want to work with social emotional learning programs within the schools and other programs that are already doing this, because no use in recreating the wheel, but we want to create a curriculum that is transferable to show these young adults that you can start a business with little no revenue, as I did with Black Sunflower. $500 in my account maybe when I launched it. And on top of that, they'll also have the opportunity to work on their self-management, responsible decision-making, right? And relationship skills. So with our small business fulfillment centers and our youth business training programs, we will have the opportunity to not only give small business owners, as well as our youth, an opportunity to shine. Because you know what? After all, it does take a village, and we all have the ability to evoke change, inspire, and make things happen. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I appreciate your time.
All right, all right, all right. The judges are waiting for you now.
Yes.
So, Paul, why don't I give you the first shot at the first question to Jasmine?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, incredibly impressive, and you are doing a lot right now. I suppose my first question is, how are you balancing both growing your business while also managing the very important social impact work that you're driving?
Well, I would not be here if it wasn't for the opportunities that were presented to me. So balancing it out, I will not be here and I can't continue to move forward unless I give back. So one of my main things within my business and how I operate and run, I have a team that helps guide me along, as well as, like I said, if you wear all the hats, you can't efficiently grow. That's the hardest part, is finding those right team members, but no one can work with me unless you have the same heart and you're willing to create change and make things happen. So finding a team that has the same beliefs, goals, and drive to put people in rooms to help them grow, that's me.
That's great.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Michael, let's go to you next.
Yeah. First, fantastic story and mission that you're on, and loved hearing about the growth in the first 18 months of your business.
Yes.
If I looked 18 months moving forward, what does success look like to you, and what's it going to take to get there?
That is an amazing question, because just 3 months ago, I had to sit back and I had to redefine what my definition of success was and manage my ambition. So that was a great question that you had first off. So one of the things that, I'm so sorry, may you repeat your question?
Yeah, so just looking forward in the next 18 months.
Yes.
What does success
What's
look like
success?
for you?
Success is being able to say that I put opportunities in the hands of other people and allowing them to be in the position that I'm in. I have so many people that come up to me and say, Jasmine, I want to be just like you. I'm like, no, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better, because I'm going to give you the tools and the resources to not make the same mistakes that I did, because I definitely made a lot of them. But we learn and grow from those. And so if I can successfully say I've helped other Black businesses get to where I'm at and succeed past that, I've done my job.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's give Jasmine a round of applause. Thank you, Jasmine. Now we have next up, Kayleen. Is Kayleen here? Kayleen is with Tasteful Vegan. And we have Kayleen up. McElveen.
Good evening, everyone. I want to just tell you just how much of a blessing it is to stand before you as the owner of Tasteful Vegan Frozen Desserts. So before there was Beyond Meat Burgers, there was a Black girl growing up in the inner city of Detroit as a vegetarian with limited options. We would go to family reunions and birthday parties and oftentimes leave empty with nothing to eat because there wasn't anything available for us to enjoy. But I was very fortunate and blessed to have a mom who never wanted her kids to be without. And so she was very innovative in teaching us how to transform meat dishes into plant-based feasts. And so with that information, I took that and began to share that knowledge with others. And in college, I started my first business as a vegetarian catering consulting, helping people that dealt with health issues and celiac disease develop recipes that would be able to help them to eat healthy. And as that continued to grow, I wanted to give people a tangible way to learn how to eat healthy. And so I authored the Daniel Feast in 2018, which is a plant-based cookbook. But it just wasn't enough. And so I realized, especially in the pandemic, in the midst of a time where everyone is grasping for a sense of normalcy, I wanted to provide a game-changing solution of health. And I thought one of the easiest ways to do that was through ice cream. And so in July of 2020, Tasteful Vegan launched serving top 8 allergen-free and naturally sweetened frozen desserts. And so we started with freeze pops and ice cream bars, and we started selling them in the farmers markets. But within a few months, we grew from the farmers markets into health food stores in West Michigan, including Harvest Health Foods and Meijer stores. And so knowing that as a business owner, to get to the next level, education is required. And so I participated in Operation Hope's 8-week entrepreneurship program just last year. And this year, I opened the very first dedicated top 8 allergen-free ice cream shop in the state of Michigan. And it has been, thank you, it has been an amazing blessing. We've had customers come as far as Denmark to be able to receive that. And we had kids and adults who've come to the ice cream shop for the very first time because they weren't able to because of celiac disease or nut allergies. Because we have a dedicated allergen-free facility, it's a safe haven for people to come and enjoy ice cream. And so I ask you and I invite you to invest $250,000 into Tasteful Vegan so that we can secure our operating space and continue to purchase the necessary equipment for the demands of the stores that are asking to bring Tasteful onto their shelves. We are growing in the number of stores that we have in Meijer and have an invitation from Whole Foods. And I realize as a vegan industry, it is booming. When business owners like Pinky Cole in 2020, when restaurants are closing, she's opening new restaurants. So it shows that demand and the need for vegan products. And I desire to see Tasteful Vegan be the first nationwide chain of ice cream shops that bring generational health to our communities. Thank you.
All right, all right. Oh, it's starting to heat up in here now. So, Brandon, we'll give you the next question for Kayleen.
Awesome. Great presentation, and thank you so much. So, there's a debate that product is the thing that sort of drives the business forward, and some say that it's branding. Can you tell me, I'm a product guy, can you tell me how do you go about the process of designing, developing your products, and how do you know that it's going to be successful once you launch it?
That's an excellent question, especially because I have a vegan product. Because sometimes, especially when I opened up the ice cream shop, I almost didn't want to tell people it was vegan because they're like, oh, it's going to be disgusting. So it's been cool when people didn't know and they tried the product and then they came back like, oh, it's vegan, I like it. You know, so it was really the product sold itself. And then from there, customers began to, they did the branding and the marketing for me by sharing their stories. And that really helped the product to grow and reach more.
Cool. Thank you. Excellent. Excellent question, Brandon. Paul?
Yeah, so again, incredibly impressive pitch, great story.
Thank you.
My question was actually along the same lines. As you expand into more stores and your product is standing up to other products next to it, how do you keep that personal touch of your brand and your story to connect to customers?
And that's one of the things I think is most important to me because the people that follow the brand, I call them my Tasteful family. And I always want to make sure that I'm involving customers, so I invite them on my website to offer suggestions for maybe different ice cream flavors that they have. And I want to make sure that because the reason that I do what I do is for them. And oftentimes the people that I'm reaching are people who felt neglected because they haven't had any options. So I never want them to lose their voice. So through the website and through Instagram, I stay connected to my customers so that they always recognize they have a voice.
Excellent. Let's give Kayleen a round of applause. Great job. All right. We're at the midway point. We got someone all the way from Chi-Town here. Get some love for Chi-Town. All right. Well, we have the founder and designer for Admire Wear, Joshua Dixon. Let's give him a round of applause. Come on out, Joshua.
Here you go.
Thank you. Here you go. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Joshua Dixon and I am the founder and designer of Admire Wear. And I know you may be curious about what happened to me, which is totally fine because I love curiosity. I'm a curious person myself. When I was 8 years old, I was attacked by our family 2 pit bulls. I lost 80% of my face, I lost both ears, I lost my nose and my upper and lower eyelid to my left eye. And yes, I still have my left eye, and no, I do not hate pit bulls because I cannot hate something that God gave life to. Though, thank you. Though it's been 15 years and 61 surgeries later, I'm not just a survivor of those things. I'm a survivor of PTSD, anxiety, depression, discrimination, sexual assault. And I'm not just a survivor of those things. I'm a survivor of mental health trauma. I'm a survivor of 2 suicide attempts. It wasn't until a few months into my recovery from my December 2020 suicide attempt where my counselor introduced me into the power of affirmations. And after that session, I was going downstairs looking into the mirror, and I was about to do what I do very frequently, is judge myself for my flaws. But this particular time was the first time that I actually enacted love onto myself after the accident. I said, I admire you for not giving up, that we got this. It wasn't until after that moment I had the idea for AdmireWear, which is a love-based lifestyle branded community that makes it realize that your story is far from over. That though mental health is a very stigmatized topic, it is something that I can bring to someone's life to add love and hope and admiration from my vulnerability plus fashion. Help saves lives like mine and yours. Though originally I had a market audience of 15 to 32-year-olds, I realized that mental health and suicide affects everyone. That this is something that touches every household. This is something that many people have a hard time talking about. I've been able to help save lives like mine and yours and be able to share my story using affirmations, using love-based products that love people on days where they may not love themselves. And even though it's been 15 months since I started AdmireWear, and it's just me, but I make all of the clothing out of my room. I have the equipment, and I've been making orders out of my room delivered to people around the world. Ever since the start, there's been over 660 AdmireWear products delivered worldwide. Reaching over 330 orders total so far. But with my social media platform touching over hundreds of thousands of hearts combined on both social media platforms. And I don't think of AdmireWear customers as customers. I think of them as family. They're admirers. They're all people who have survived, who have been through something. And we're all survivors in our own way. Everyone in this room has survived something. And that's something that I'm bringing to the table, is that fact that we all have something in common. Though we are different, we can find common ground. And that's how we can help save lives. It's been 15 months into AdmireWear. I have generated over $20,000 in gross revenue with a profit margin of 49%. And most of my sales, 98% of my sales, have all been sourced organically through making online social media content. And thank you. And I thank you all for being here today, because not only being on this stage, being on this platform, being a black kid from the south side of Chicago, you make tomorrow worth fighting for. You make my day, honestly. Like, it's awesome. You should give yourself a round of applause, because all of your stories is important.
All right. So, Michael, you got the next question.
I think I'll start. I think what everybody here is thinking, and that is such a powerful and inspirational message that you have built a fantastic business on. So, thank you. My question, and I think you kind of touched on it, was the success of people returning to buy the product. As you look forward at your strategy, what is your marketing strategy to keep people in the admire wear ecosystem, to keep them coming back?
Helping people feel inclusive, helping people know that their story is valuable, that they deserve to be heard, allowing people to not only get those cards, which they can use to give someone else who may be struggling, but allowing them to create conversations that we're not having enough of. I plan on in the future not only being able to move admirer outside of my childhood bedroom where I fulfill stuff, but be able to move into a warehouse space that will have pop-up or retail space capabilities to where I can invite the community in and we can all have these conversations, but also be able to wear our love on our sleeves or on our heart.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for that question. And one last one, Brandon.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your story and what inspired you to start your company. The beauty about being able to pitch thousands of people, and this is for each entrepreneur here, is that you'll now have a lot of new customers. So thank you, everyone, for supporting these businesses. I guess I don't really have a question in that, just to make sure you guys do that, but I guess more so, how beyond the folks here tonight do you find your customers? Or not your customers, the family, the Meyerware family, how do they shop you and learn about your brand?
Just making videos about my story, understanding that though all of the trauma that I've been through, like it's been 15 years and I've endured things that no one in 15 years should ever endure. But somehow God saved my life from that suicide attempt to help save others. And so making videos, by making videos and content and also asking them for feedback, allows me to not only create the conversations, but I'll also talk to them very frequently. I'll talk to my customers, communicate with them, be a person who they maybe could reach out to if they want to create the conversation, or they may be having a bad day. I have actually saved a few people from having a crisis by just by being available, which is something that we need in our community, is for people to be available just to listen. And before I finish, the one thing that has been really helpful is that I've been taking classes myself. Psychology classes, mental health classes, classes on suicide prevention, allowing me to educate myself so that I can better help anyone or be able to create the conversation with mental health literacy so that people could feel more inclusive and feel like they have a plate at the table rather than just having a seat but not being voluntary to the conversation.
Thank you for the offer.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, let's give Joshua a round of applause.
Thank you.
I want some of those shoes. In the shoes. All right. Now we're down to our last contestant. And so we have a husband and wife business owner coming up. And so at this time, I'd like to invite Stacy Howell and Hollis Howell, the owners of Woodhouse Spa. Let's give them a round of applause.
Why? Simon Sinek, the author, wrote the book Why. And in this book, he leads us to discover why we make the choices and decisions we make. And my why with his why is our story. I'm Stacy Howell. I am a mother, I'm a business owner, a servant leader, and a caretaker of elderly parents. For the last 4 years, I was CEO of a nonprofit here in Atlanta whose mission was to move women from dependency to self-sufficiency who experience trauma in their lives. My husband, Hollis, a father, a servant leader, a Navy submariner in Desert Storm, now uses He's careered in cybersecurity, but uses massage as part of his recovery for his damaged knees. Why? Because he took an oath to serve and protect, and in his sacrifice, he stands for good health and wellness as an ambassador. Together, we opened up our dream business, a Woodhouse Spa in Buckhead. It is an alternative to the hotel spas, and it's a luxury spa. You see, for the past 3 years, we lived through a dreadful pandemic. We were surrounded by fear, and the fear was politicized. We were in a state of confusion in the midst of losing lives. We were caused to isolate, quarantine, and simply rethink how we socially interact and socialize with our coworkers, our neighbors, our friends, and loved ones. Studies have shown that social isolation increases the risk of depression, cognitive, and physical deterioration. Opening a spa seemed to be the right business at the right time. People were starved for connection. You see, this is where the first form of medicine begins. It's about touch. It's the form of touch. When a baby is born, the first thing that happens is thrust in the arms of its mother, simply for touch. We rediscovered the power of connection. See, we create a space where people can be touched, they can reconnect, they can escape, they can enjoy relaxation simply in the form of becoming their best selves. We create a place where people can enjoy luxury for the first time amidst a group of people who have demanded it for a lifetime. You see, self-care and self-love is our motto. We are bringing luxury to this group, and we are moving forward. So why are we here today? Our why. Small businesses like ours are still in some type of struggle post-COVID. Yes, we have the right product, we're in the right location, and the right time and space. However, it's very difficult to attract and hire and retain good employees. We are hiring signs all over by small businesses. It is an issue of our survival as a small business. So we, as solution architects, decided that the answer was in my redevelopment job readiness alongside of our wellness care spa business. In other words, to create a school alongside of the Woodhouse business. A school where we could train students to apprentice and become employed after graduation. This career path gives therapists the purpose and allows them to serve in the global $3.95 trillion global hospitality industry and become part of the $935 billion industry of beauty and wellness while achieving a six-figure salary. With this continued mission to change lives and still build self-sufficiency, we can train students for luxury, and the skills will be employed by 5 separate Woodhouses in Georgia alone by 2025. We solved the problem of employees and for ourselves, and we opened the door for a cost of a 10 to 20K tuition versus an 80 to 100K college debt. We make an impact in the labor market with skilled employment and growth for underserved populations. The market in Georgia predicts a 28% job increase in massage therapy versus the national average of 22%. This tells us we're in the right market at the right time. We can empower and we can teach self-care one individual at a time. Healthy individuals make healthy communities. So I close with another book that I enjoyed by Simon Sinek, Better Together. Partnerships are the key to success. We're looking for partners to help create our school. It would take $100,000 to help us get there. This project helps us to continue on our commitment to empowering others. Who will join us? Who will join in our why? And why? Finally, in the words of my husband, legacy. Legacy is standing on the shoulders of others while we pave a way for those in our wake. This is my sailor. Thank you very much.
All right, all right. So, Paul, we'll give you the next question as you receive your gift.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, too.
So my question, obviously we've just come out of dealing with a really tough crisis that had a huge impact on the economy. We are now facing rising prices, growing inflation. Families are having to make tough choices about what to cut out of their budget. How do you plan to, in the next 6 months to a year, continue to retain your customers, reach out, grow your customer base, and encourage them that this is a really important part of their lives?
I think what we learned about the COVID, there's always a silver lining, and that's how my spiritual mindset goes. We saw the problems, but we also saw families spending more time together. I saw mothers and daughters walking. I saw families riding their bike together because we took a pause, and we had to. And I think we learned that self-care and self-love is important, and that's why we had this great resignation. And that's why we're struggling. So we give discounts. My staff is committed to doing volunteerism twice a year, every 6 months, and we pay for that because we believe in being part of the community. But we'll do discounts and programs and everything. But our real main thing is to advertise in social media. You got to take care of self first. Put that mask on when you get on the plane. You can only put yours on before you can help somebody else. We work in stress, but we don't take care of ourselves.
All right, all right. Well, let's give Stacy and Hollis, Woodhouse Spa, a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, now our judges are going to go off stage, and they're going to go ahead and tally up the votes, and then we're going to make the announcements of the winners. So,
Mic's off. All right. We can leave that here, probably.
and then we also have an additional surprise by Shopify, which Brandon's going to mention in a second. they're just going to stand there. All right, we got some announcements. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. All right. Now, I was just kidding earlier when I said we were giving out some Starbucks gift cards. We got something more than that. Also, I want to acknowledge Brandon Davenport, who sweetened the pot. All 4 contestants will receive a $2,500 grant from Shopify, thanks to Brandon. Let's give Brandon a round of applause. So for the 4th place winner, we have Woodhouse Spa, Stacy and Hollis Howe. Come on out. And not only they get this certificate of achievement and $2,500 thanks to Shopify, but thanks to PayPal, they get another $7,000. Right, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, in 3rd place, we have Joshua Dixon with Admireware. Come on out, Joshua.
Thank you.
And in addition to the $2,500 grant from Shopify, thanks to Brandon, he will receive $8,000.
That's awesome.
Thanks to Paul and PayPal. All right, it's getting hot up in here. 2nd place, we have Jasmine Richards with BLK Sunflower. Come on up, Jasmine. And in addition to the $2,500 grant, thanks to Shopify, Jasmine, you get an additional $10,000 thanks to PayPal. Thank you, Paul. And last but not least, the winner is, drum roll please, Kayleen McLeavin, who's with Tasteful Vegan.
You did it, girl!
And again, in addition to the $2,500, thanks to Shopify, thank you, Brandon, you will get $15,000 thanks to PayPal. Thank you, Paul. Let's give all the contestants and our judges a round of applause. Thank you. God bless. We're going to do a quick photo op, and then we'll go to the next segment. Was that okay? Do you guys enjoy it? Thank you for supporting our 1 Million Black Business Initiative contestants. All right. Thank you. All right, my dear.
How about those pitches? And how about those prizes? What a way to get started and kick things off. Congratulations to everyone. That was amazing. I enjoyed listening and watching the pitches. We wish them all tremendous success with their businesses. And I see a couple that I think I would definitely, all of them, I would definitely go in and try and support, right? Would you all support them? Yes, we've got to do that. That's the only way to make this happen. So many of you have actually attended the Crypto Summit. That was back in May. And we talked about the risks of digital assets back then and how to protect vulnerable communities. You remember that? All right. Well, I think we're on to a little something because all things have changed since then. We brought in some of the country's leading experts to actually give us the lowdown on where we are now. Comptroller of the Currency, the Honorable Michael Sue, and the man that knows all about it, Mr. John Hope Bryant. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Are you guys enjoying the night? I am so excited. Dr. King, his last book was Where Do We Go From Here? And people forget that in the 13 years that Dr. King was in this movement, every day was not a I have a dream speech. Most of it was boring staff meetings and conference meetings and going to parent-teacher night and going to the grocery store. And he probably gave this I have a dream speech 100 times. Andrew Young tells me before the March on Washington. The one time that it all came together, we remember. But they don't realize all the other things that really took the moment to its moment, made the moment possible. It was all the background work. Where do we go from here on cryptocurrency, on technology, fintech, and specifically you and I had a conversation about 6 months ago on this stage at the first ever cryptocurrency summit of its kind. And people call me a bit of a poo-poo person when it came to crypto, and I wasn't. My wife has crypto, and I, full disclosure, I have an account just so I wanted to be able to track it and understand it. But I just felt that it was being mismarketed and misused by some, and the largest group of folks picking up cryptocurrency were black people. Poor, struggling, black and brown people using their rent money for something I thought was very risky. And you and I sat on this stage and had a conversation, and I want the audience to know this is the first federal regulator. Michael, the comptroller, regulates $15 trillion in banking assets. So 70 cents of every dollar in the banking system in the largest economy in the world is regulated by this man. And he took the time and took, I think, professional risk in putting his foot down, the only federal regulator, at least the first one, to say, I have concerns and I want to protect people. Can you just, before we do anything else, just say thank you to Michael Su. So 6 months later, where are we? What have we discovered?
So I think what we're learning now is that gravity is asserting itself. Crypto has been long on hype, short on discipline. And in any industry, that's an issue. In an industry where you're handling other people's money, that's a really big issue. And so we're seeing that play out now. And I think that there's more to come. There's more to come.
We gave some warnings at a time where hype was at a zenith.
Yep.
What's happened in the last 3 months specifically that concerns you?
Well, so maybe just to go back for a moment. So 1 year ago from today, crypto was probably $2.5, $3 trillion total market value. Bitcoin was probably $60,000. And everybody was feeling FOMO. Everyone was feeling that there's someone out there making a lot of money on this. Should I get in? And I think everyone was chasing. And it was hard not to. But I think with matters of money, you got to take a hard, cold, sober look and say, what are the risks? What's the upside? What's the downside? And is there discipline? Is there discipline that's being exercised? And I think in that space, there's very little discipline. I think you're seeing some of the effects of that now.
So one thing you told me when we were talking at lunch about 8 months ago was there were, if I'm getting this wrong, there were thousands of cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
Is the number 20,000? What was it?
I mean, it depends on how you count them, but it was well over 10,000.
Well over 10,000
tokens of various
total of different tokens. And what percentage failed?
I mean, so now you're going to stretch me. Like a lot of them have failed. Some of the biggest ones, really, the cracks started appearing this past spring with the Terra Luna stablecoin, which was not stable. Collapsing, and then that taking down other things with it, and then most recently with FTX.
And there were some marketers who were suggesting that these crypto, this is really fascinating, cryptocurrency was created, if you don't know this, right in the backdrop of the subprime mortgage crisis of 2009, where there was a lot of people, rightly so, upset with Wall Street. And I've always said, whatever decision you make emotionally is a bad decision. And there were some emotional money movements that were a pushback against Wall Street and banking, saying, we lost our money somehow in this subprime crisis, so now we're going to create an alternative system that has no connection to Washington, to the dollar, to banks. That's where this came from. Now, I find it fascinating that certain marketers were then saying, we are FDIC insured or backed, or we're backed by the US dollar. Am I mistaken about this?
No, you're exactly right. So, but John, I think it's important. Your first point is really important. There has been mistrust of the traditional banking and financial system for some time. And that mistrust is not entirely misplaced. So you mentioned the 2008 financial crisis. That was a huge source of the mistrust. But even before that, for communities of color.
The Freedmen's Bank.
Right, Freedmen's Savings Bank, we've talked about that. For communities of color, for the underserved, the traditional banking system has not necessarily been there for them. And either you've got redlining, you've got predatory lending, so there's reason for folks to have been skeptical and to want to look for something else. So I think that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And like you said, Bitcoin gets created in 2009, coming out of the ashes of peak mistrust of the financial system.
And I think it's no coincidence, Mr. Comptroller, that the very group that was discriminated against or taken advantage of or not taken care of from the Freedmen's Bank on forward, which includes, by the way, understand that redlining didn't come from banks. The word redlining came from, I think it was FHA, in the early 20th century, refused to finance or guarantee mortgages in black neighborhoods. And because the government refused to guarantee the mortgage in the black neighborhood, the bank wouldn't lend on the mortgage in a black neighborhood. You follow me? It's really important to understand this. So the banks went, capital's a coward. The banks went where the money was safe. The banks went to where the white neighborhoods that had the FHA guarantee and away from the black neighborhoods, which made the black neighborhoods drop in asset value. That was the government that was actually facilitating, at that time, redlining. And the banks didn't lend in those areas. So you have the Freedmen's Bank, you have the FHA crisis, and a number of other things, subprime mortgage crisis, that makes blacks and brown people skeptical. So who then do cryptocurrency promoters go targeting with an emotional response that this is going to be the one time that you're going to get rich? Black folks. And I'm with Malcolm X right now. You've been bamboozled, you've been tricked, you've been fooled. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, to Dr. King's quote, where do we go from here? How do we create a system of trust? What are the things that you're doing and the regulatory framework is doing? We call for regulation at our meeting. We said that this is actually better for the industry, for legitimate cryptocurrency. By the way, I believe blockchain is a legitimate technology. I believe that crypto will have a place in the future. I just don't think it's what we're talking about right now, and it's certainly not a get-rich-quick scheme. I believe there's a future of fintech and all of that. And we're going to talk about that more in a moment. But we also said that they're going to do better in a regulated environment, as will the consumer, than an unregulated environment. Where do we go from here?
So for me, I have to start and finish with the national banking system, like you said. So my objective, national banking system has to be safe, sound, and fair. Number one, number two.
Safe, sound, and fair.
If it's safe, sound, and fair, it'll be trusted. And it'll be there for folks. It's very important that the banking system is there to work for folks, all folks, everybody. You got to get on the ladder of economic progress. You got to be able to get on, and banks are part of getting onto that. And Banks have gotten better at this. There's still room to grow, still room to improve, but that's got to be job number one. That trust has to be earned, and that trust has to be earned over time. Now, in terms of crypto, I think crypto started off, the premise was you don't need trust, right? The blockchain technology was built on this idea they don't want to deal with banks. They just want to do it in a trustless way. I think we've realized that's impossible. You have to trust somebody. So if you have to trust people, how do you operate in a way? And that's why some crypto firms would wave around FDIC insurance. They would wave around, hey, we're super regulated, when they weren't, because they're trying to borrow the trust from somewhere else. Don't borrow it, earn it, get it.
That's right.
Right? So we have a system right now where if a company wants to apply for a national bank charter and earn that trust, the door is open. But they have to abide by our standards.
That's right.
Safe, sound, and fair. We're not going to cut any corners, and that's what makes the national banking system trustworthy. So I think that conversation is now taking place in crypto. They're trying to figure out how do we earn that trust, and I think that it has to be earned. I don't think there's no shortcuts.
And we've talked now about what didn't work. Maybe now we can talk about some things that did work. And normally the gentleman who regulates 70 cents of every dollar in this country, banks, can't be on the stage with another banker. But in this particular case, it's a bank he doesn't regulate. We were able to bring out, I want Jill to come out. He's the founder, president, and CEO of Cross River Bank, which, by the way, is the second largest provider of PPP loans during the crisis in the country. And he is one of the smallest percentage of loan volume. In other words, the smaller loans, he's one of the biggest banks with the smallest loan balances for small business in the country. He has an immigrant background. It helps him understand the needs of people. I want Jill to come and join us now on stage. We also have another panelist who's joining us, Joanne Barefoot, who's the founder and CEO of the Alliance for Innovative Innovation. Okay, show us the rainbow after the storm. Help us understand how a bank can do well and do good in fintech. You're an expert at it. You're an honest broker. You're advocating in this space. In a few minutes, help us to help an audience get their hands around such a complicated topic, but make it approachable.
So if I may switch the order, it's not doing well and doing good. It's actually doing well by doing good.
Okay. All right. You had me at hello.
And I think that if this is the objective of our creation, our existence, then things will fall into place and we will do well. But this is not the name of the game. I think the banking industry as a whole needs to be there for the consumers at large and provide them with something that is very accessible, very easy to understand, and at the same time that protects them. And if we do well by the consumers and by the small businesses, then things will fall into place for the banking industry at large. But it really starts by first understanding what are the aspirations of the small businesses that are direly in need of funds in order for them to operate their businesses. And same thing holds true for the consumers. I mean, during the pandemic, for example, obviously it was extremely difficult to go around the corner to shop, and people started shopping online. They could be abused if they don't really understand the products they're getting, if they don't understand what they're paying or the mechanism for them to pay for that product to get to their homes, then they could be abused, and that's where actually the banking industry could run afoul of consumer aspirations.
Explain to the audience, to my mother who's sitting here, she's a really smart lady, but...
And she's proud. And she's proud.
Well, I hope. Depends on the day. What's fintech? Let's not assume people understand these fancy phrases. What is a fintech operation? What is a bank involved in fintech?
So, very good question. Fintech is really a contraction of the word financial and technology.
Okay.
So a financial transaction could operate on two sides. Either you're taking a loan, so you become a borrower, that's a financial product, or you could actually collect a payment on the other side. So in other words, you're an Uber driver, and you have an Uber rider.
Okay.
A rider pays via a mechanism, it could be a credit card, it could be an ACH, it could be any other mechanisms, and so that the Uber driver could get paid in turn. So you're using, let's say, a credit card to pay for that transaction.
Yep.
The Uber driver cannot afford to wait 2 weeks to be paid by Uber.
Right.
They need to be paid in real time so that they could actually go and fill up, well, you know, they take a gas so that they can get to the next ride. That's where fintech comes into play.
Okay.
To deliver that payment in real time so that people could actually afford life in real time.
This is a really important point. So you're saying that, you know, people were telling me, by the way, recently, oh, everything's technology. We don't need to go to meetings anymore. It's all, do everything by Zoom. Everything's, I said, wait a minute. A dating app, which is technology, the whole purpose of a dating app is to meet someone. Did I miss something? Have I missed something? I'm used to the black church. I'm seek and respond. Did I miss something? Okay. So what you just told me is behind all of this technology is a hamster wheel called people and a bank with an FDIC insurance and a regulator. In other words, the technology that allows an Uber driver to get paid, they may just see Uber, and by the way, Uber is one of our Hope Inside the Workplace partners. We're honored to be partners with them. But that technology, really important, Silicon Valley, they can't do it by themselves.
That is correct.
They need a bank to connect with. You guys following this? The technology company needs a bank to partner with, and that bank has something as old as American commerce, which is federal regulation.
That is absolutely correct. And the responsible way of conducting that transaction so that movement of money is done in a legal and regulatory way, you need a bank in order to execute that transaction at the end of the day. The last mile needs to be executed by the bank.
The last mile, the last part of that transaction.
Because the bank has 200 years of regulatory compliance DNA. The name of the game here is if we don't control that transaction to protect the consumers or the small businesses, we will be shut down.
Right. So his peer, which is the FDIC chair, or his peer, the Federal Reserve chairman or whoever, the Federal Reserve leadership, or I missed one, CFPB. Have I missed a regulator?
There's lots.
Somebody with a government badge could shut you down, a bank, if you don't do it right. Right?
That is correct.
Which means
I think the controller wants to add something.
Go ahead, go, please.
But the fintechs are not regulated as banks. Okay, so this is where we're now moving into the future. So in the past, if you dealt with the bank did everything. Everything was done by the bank. And now we're moving, your example, I think what Gilles was talking about, we're moving into a world where the line between a bank and a non-bank providing a banking service is starting to blur. You don't know the difference. We care, Gilles cares, the fintechs care, and the question is, again, how do we ensure that that service is safe, sound, and fair for everybody? That gets complicated when some of them are regulated directly by, say, the OCC or not, and you got a bunch of fintechs who are in the space of commerce. They're not regulated directly by us. And so I think this is something we're working through right now because we want to harness what's good from technology, but as we're seeing in the crypto space, if it's not regulated, it can run off the rails. And so this is something that we really need to pay a lot of attention to.
So Joanne, I'm coming to you next. Hold on 1 second. I want to talk to you about FTX, which is really important because I think this is where the conversation needs to go. But let's go back to this for a minute. Show you how much integrity this man has. I've known him for years. He's a partner of Operation Hope. So we're backstage, and I asked him a question, which I won't repeat here, but I asked him a question about somebody we both know that they do business with that's an unregulated institution in fintech. And I asked, it was a philosophical question. It wasn't a specific question. It wasn't, I don't believe, a confidential question. But his response, rightly so, was, I can't comment on that. Because what he knows that I don't is that there are fiduciary lines that he knows he can't cross, but as an FDIC insured bank, he knew there were things he could talk to his friend John Bryant about and things he couldn't, and I knew enough not to ask him another question. But that's what you want. You want a banker like this who knows where the lines are and respects them. Now, Joanne, in this FTX situation, as I understand it, no banks were present anywhere. It was all just a bunch of 18-year-olds, whatever, they're 1880, unregulated, off the chain, living in the Bahamas.
CEO is 30.
Huh?
The CEO is 30.
CEO is 30.
Yeah.
Going on 18.
Yeah.
And this guy went from a net worth of $26 billion to nothing almost overnight.
Yeah.
And with that, a number of depositors, well, I don't know, investors, clients, I don't know what you call them because they weren't FDIC insured banks. This is where it starts to get messy. Joanne, help us unpack this for the audience.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this from a little bit of a different angle. Sure. I agree with every word that has been said on this panel. As Mike knows, I'm a former regulator myself. I think crypto needs regulation. It's a young industry. It's evolving and changing quickly. And the FTX meltdown a few weeks ago is one of the most spectacular failures in the history of finance. I mean, it's an unbelievable implosion of a seemingly serious company. So we need more regulation. Crypto's full of risk. Crypto means a lot of different things that need to be regulated in different ways. I'm afraid I'll put everyone to sleep if we start talking about like which things need regulating exactly. But I would like to say that maybe taking a little bit of a contrarian view,
sure,
there is a lot of power in this technology, and I know we're going to talk about financial inclusion, potentially to drive toward better financial services. When we talk about the 100 years of good compliance DNA in the banking system that you mentioned, Jill, that's true, it's there, I respect it, but it has also been accompanied through the years by a lot of banking behavior that has been exclusionary and been too cautious and too careful, and left a lot of people out of the system, which is part of what has drawn people to crypto. I'm sure a lot of people in this room know this, but the crypto world has a very strong developer community of people of color. There was a conference in Washington a few months ago called, I think it was called the Black Blockchain Conference, and they sold a T-shirt that said, "Satoshi is black." Satoshi Nakamoto was the person or people who claimed to have founded crypto. So there's a utopian streak about the possibility that the underlying technologies, not the speculative behavior, not the fraud, it looks like there's fraud here, but the blockchain, the tokenization, the decentralization, the transparency, we hope will survive things like the calamity here with the
That's not contrarian. We agree on that. In fact, I said that before you walked out, that blockchain is part of the future, and I agree with it. But it is also true that every financial area that got regulated actually was more valuable after it was regulated than before.
Yeah.
It's also true.
Yeah.
But yes, the banking industry, because of regulated, don't take as many risks. My problem is, if you bought that Bitcoin at 60,000, and now it's what, 16,000 or whatever, the people who bought it between 16,000 and 60,000, they look like me. They don't have a trust fund.
Yeah.
To go pull and go, oh, well, oops.
Definitely.
That might have been everything you had in the world. And I'm sorry, that's not okay with me. It's just not. So we gotta find a happy medium between innovation and stodginess.
Exactly. And I wonder if we can start to use technology to move to a new model for investor protection that doesn't assume that some people just shouldn't be able to get in on an opportunity, but rather to be more nuanced about how to figure out when is an investment inappropriate for someone, unsuitable is the term in the law, and when might it be suitable for people to be able to come in and have an opportunity on the upside.
Comptroller?
So I agree that there's this, we have to strike the right balance, but I think I want to be really careful. When we talk about innovation, a lot of technologists, I think especially in the crypto space, are coming from a world where, what are they innovating? They're innovating apps, apps, entertainment, things where I would say the stakes are low.
Yep.
With money, stakes are high. Yep. I think of money as like transportation, like airplanes.
Housing.
Medicine,
Yep.
right? We want innovation with our medicine. We want innovation, but we don't want planes falling out of the sky, and we don't want medicine that's going to kill us. And so I think we have to approach it with that mindset. And I'm afraid that in the financial technology space, some of the technologists don't have that appreciation that when you're dealing with other people's money, the stakes are high and the bar for innovation is just much higher than if you're making an app that's going to make your life a little bit more convenient. Nothing against that. But if that breaks, it's not a big deal. When this breaks, people are losing their money, they're losing their homes, they're losing their savings. That's a way bigger deal. So I think that perspective had got a little lost with crypto and in some corners of the fintech space. So I think that's a reckoning I think that we're going through right now. I think that's healthy. I think conversations like this really help.
And I will say also as a closing comment, I think it's no accident that certain promoters of this who are less ethical than a Jill, less concerned than a Joanne, I think that it's no accident that they found a population of people who are frustrated, upset with the mainstream system, emotional about it, looking for a way to short circuit from poverty to a paycheck, wanted to get rich, I'll say it, quick, just say it, and did not have necessarily the financial literacy or the sophistication to understand they're being jammed up. We're not talking about unintelligent people. If you're black in America, you're born on probation in America. You're twice as smart, twice as intelligent, twice as well dressed, get up twice as early, stay up twice as late, you got too much mothered into your money. You're a black woman raising a family needs a Nobel Peace Prize for innovating. I'm talking about smart people here. But it's what you don't know that you don't know that's killing you, but you think you know. And there's somebody out there trying to separate you from your wallet. And I got a problem with that. So we need innovation. And we need banks to find better pathways. And we need for you guys to relax every now and then, but not too much. and we need guys like you to push the envelope and start a business as you're the founder of the bank. You started with nothing. What's the assets now?
About 10 billion.
Oh, no. Hold on, slow. Wait, whoa. Hold on. See how cool he said that? He started it with nothing. What's the assets now?
10 billion.
See, he says 10 billion. He just whispered it. When you make 5,000, you scream it. Do you know there are no ugly billionaires? My man said, very cool, 10 billion. See, that's what I love. I love making smart sexy. That's sexy right there. So we want more guys like you.
I'm just the rabbi in the room. I'm here for the kosher certification.
But on a serious note, as we wrap up this panel, here's the question. Don't we want it done right?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Give them a round of applause.
My name is Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from the Miami Dolphins. I grew up in Houston, Texas, the southwest part of Houston. My mom took care of me and my 3 older sisters. She's always on my mind when I go out there and compete. To me, care is always being there, just being there when you really need somebody. Entrepreneurship was something that I seen at a young age. People just trying to make money, especially at the football games I was going to. There's just people out there, you know, selling shirts, having like stands, selling drinks. Lifting up Black and minority-owned businesses has always been important to me. And when I found out about Operation Hope, I was excited. Operation Hope's 1 Million Black Businesses program provides tools and training to set small businesses and entrepreneurs on the path to success. People like this amazing guy, Peterson Joseph. Peterson is an engineer and welder who immigrated from Haiti in 2010. 2 years ago, he went through Operation Hope's 1 Million Black Businesses program. Now, he builds machines to help you recycle plastic bottles in your own home. Oh, and he also builds go-karts. Peterson is just one of the many small businesses receiving the care that so many out there need. We both know about blood, sweat, and hard work. We're here because of our drive and talent. And we're here because people care. One moment of care can change a life for the better.
When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank.
Hope you are enjoying yourself so far. Where's that truest table? Oh, did I say truest tables? I'm sorry. A friend was texting me backstage, "Hey Vern, how are ya?" So good to see everybody though. If you text me, I'll mention you, so text me. All right, now I hope nobody's planning to go anywhere because there's a wonderful surprise backstage for you. So I have a musical performance by Grammy-nominated artist Major. Just saw him in the house. And, gonna love this, the recently re-elected senator from the great state of Georgia, Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock in the house.
Get up!
Everybody get up.
All right, y'all. All right. Wow. Hello, everybody. So, yeah. So Dr. King said, where do we go from here? Right here. How long? Not long. How long? Not long. So I was watching his Senator Dr. Reverend Warnock's acceptance speech, and I was texting him how touched I was about it. And the next thing I hear when he walks out on stage, he says, "My mother picked cotton, and now she's picking a U.S. senator." You know, what I loved, and I heard this from several people who text and emailed me, Michael Arrighetti, we know all these people from these different worlds, and they were so impressed with how much you haven't changed. You're the same normal guy they met and they respected, the authenticity. I'm going to get into our history a little bit, but I found that success only amplifies who you were already. I'm sorry, success, yeah, if you are a good guy or a good lady, you become a better person who's successful. If you are a jerk who becomes successful, you become a perfected jerk. And I watch for people as they assail and they go to Washington, I watch how some people become important. They come down with Quincy Jones, a case of seriousness. See there? He even laughed off without a script. Talk without being offensive, listen without being defensive, always leave even your adversary with their dignity. That's Reverend Senator Warnock. You have been the same guy since I met you, where does that come from? Is that mom and dad?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good to be here with you, John, and wonderful to be a part of the Hope Global Forums. I grew up in public housing, in Caton Homes housing projects. And people who've heard me speak hear that time and time again about my dad, who poured into me a fierce work ethic, a man who picked up broken cars and loaded them on the back of a rig. He was a small businessman, struggling, but that's how he took care of his family, loading these old broken cars on the back of a rig. But he was also a preacher. And on Sunday morning in his small church, just hardworking, salt of the earth people, the same man who picked up broken cars, lifted broken people, convinced them of their value. And what he poured into me and what my mom poured into me, she grew up in the 1950s in Waycross, Georgia, picking somebody else's cotton, picking somebody else's tobacco. That is the foundation for who I am. And in a real sense, with all of the things that I've been able to do, I feel like I'm still standing on tiptoe trying to catch up to my dad and my mom.
Let's go deeper into that. Why, I mean, again, someone could say, look at what you've accomplished, look at your pedigree, look at your credentials. Why do you feel that you're still trying to catch up to mom and dad? Get me into that.
Each of them, they embody what Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel called moral excellence and spiritual grandeur, a kind of spiritual depth. And I don't mean, a kind of false and religious pretentiousness, but a real spiritual depth. And just good people who taught me good values. You work hard, you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you love your neighbor, you give back to community, and those values continue to guide the work that I do. And I feel like with all that has been given to me, to whom much is given, much is required. And so, I talked about this when I eulogized my dad back in 2010. I mentioned in his eulogy that his name would not appear that day in the New York Times. Nobody, there was not going to be a crawl on CNN that Jonathan Warnock died. But here is an ordinary man with an extraordinary epitaph. He loved his family. He loved his wife. He took care of his children. He worked hard. He loved his country before his country learned how to love him back. My dad was born in 1917. I had an older father. I'm 53, but my dad was born in 1917. And I say I had an older father, but I came pretty close. I've got a 4-year-old at home and a 6-year-old. Don't hate. But he would sometimes tell the story of, as a World War II veteran, how he was literally asked while wearing his soldier's uniform to give up his seat to a white teenager. And the skin he was wearing was more important than the uniform he was wearing.
To others.
And in terms of how the society saw it.
Right.
And so he was asked to give up his seat, and he would tell that story as a part of the reality that shaped his life, but he was never bitter. He was never overwhelmed with bitterness. We said the Pledge of Allegiance in my church, in the church where he raised us. That's where I learned to say the Pledge of Allegiance, in a little black church. And he taught us to love country. And he saw the arc of change in our country, born in 1917. So he saw enough change to know that the country could be better.
The Great Depression and World War II.
All of that.
Civil rights
movement. He lived through all of that. And then he passed that on to us. And so I know that these are very difficult times, difficult days, but we've seen difficulty before. When I think about my dad and I think about my mom, when I think about the great John Lewis, who was my parishioner, who am I to give up?
That's right. That's right. I think about, first of all, your dad's been promoted, gone on to a better place.
That's right.
As we know, we're not human beings, and you inspired this in me. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I've noticed how you've come into Washington, which we're going to pivot to in a moment. Most people I know, I've known presidents, senators, congressmen, people, of course, they change. They go from public figure or sort of public policymaker or a public policymaker yet into a politician. And I understand you got to play politics in Washington, but what I've noticed about you is you've remained mostly public policy or public servant, that's the word, public servant, and 25% politician as you've had to be, but 75% of you still public servant, the same guy I knew before. Let me back up a little bit further. Every time we text, you ask about Shatra, my wife. I'm not sure if she's here somewhere. But every time we text, you ask how Shatra. You're always talking. You're always about the relationships of what really matters, and you're always grounding back into that. Let's go one step further. You only asked me to do two things for you, three things. One, extraordinary, as a U.S. Senator, you asked to go and have lunch, and you wanted to listen. U.S. Senator, he just wanted to listen. He wanted to understand what was I seeing and how could banking serve those elites. He's the chairman of a subcommittee on the Senate Banking Committee. I'm going to say that again. First black senator from Georgia, the chairman of a committee in the Senate Banking Committee. And he wanted to not talk, he wanted to listen. It's humility. Number three, you asked for an audience with Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young. I don't know if you remember this. You were pastor of Ebenezer Church back then. And all you did for an hour and a half was listen. You're pastor of Ebenezer Church. That was the fifth pastor.
Ebenezer was founded in 1886. I'm the fifth senior pastor. We stay a little while.
So again, you could have had this gravitas, I know better. Pastors are good at talking. Yet you sit and you listened to, as we all should, Ambassador Andrew Young. The number one thing, I don't know if you remember this at all, how we met. I got a phone call from you out of the blue. Do you remember this?
Yeah, Andrea, I think, introduced us.
Andrea, Ambassador Young's daughter. And I don't remember the exact details, but basically I was trying to keep a low profile behind Andrew Young in Atlanta, and you said, no, I need you to come and bring a Hope Inside location to Ebenezer. This is before any of this was in vogue. This was 2013, 2014.
2011, 2012 was when we built the building.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, we put a Hope Financial Literacy Center on the campus of our church.
And I said, I don't really think I can do that. I don't have the money. I haven't raised it. I don't know where to get it. And then he said to me, well, you know, John, Dr. King's father, Daddy King, served on the board of Citizens Trust Bank for 50 years. And there's a strong legacy of civil rights and what you call, John, civil rights, and people doing something with nothing. And if they can find a way to do it, I'm sure you can. But if you don't want to do this, anyway, we built a Hope Inside at Daddy King's building, which stands today at Ebenezer Church. And we're the first Hope Inside or faith-based Hope Inside we've ever had
at a church
in the country. We're now at several, including Mason Temple in Memphis, yes, we're the last place that Dr. King Preach that, yes. So you had a vision. You had a vision yourself of how free enterprise, capitalism, economics, access, and opportunity could serve the least of these God's children. This was your own thought process. Where did that come from? And how'd you marry that with theology?
Well,
which is brilliant.
As I pointed out to you when we met all those years ago, Daddy King was on the board of a bank. Daddy King said, don't forget about the 11th and the 12th commandments. Number 11, thou shalt send your kids to college or technical school or somewhere. And number 12, thou shalt own some land because the Lord ain't making any more. And you know, Daddy King was a capitalist.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a little bit more critical of capitalism. He wanted capitalism to be more humane. And he had he questioned, he raised the kinds of questions to create what he called the beloved community. And he worried about the ways in which we could be given over to materialism, what he called the triplet evils of racism, militarism, and materialism. Right. So I live inside that tension. And it's the reason I'm on the banking committee, because it's very important that our banking system and our financial institutions work for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is why I've introduced legislation to address a whole range of issues like affordable housing. I've introduced legislation to help first-time homeowners buy houses, to get more equity in their homes earlier. Coming out of the pandemic, we saw a whole range of bad actors engaged in scams. Yeah. And so as chair of that committee dealing with consumer protection, I've been very focused on protecting consumers from the kinds of scams that we saw coming out of the pandemic and that we see all the time.
Yeah.
And while at the same time strengthening and understanding the importance of our banking system, we got to hold everybody accountable.
That's right.
And so we saw some in that space with these various kinds of fees that have to do with overdrafts and that kind of thing, which literally became how some of the banks stayed solvent. Was through overdraft fees. And so we've held them accountable, we're pushing them hard, and a lot of them have made some regulations, or some of them have made regulations on their own, but I intend to keep pushing on that front. We gotta hold everybody accountable.
So what can we do to make, through your service on the banking committee, to make free enterprise in financial services work for all of God's children in your view? Is there low-hanging fruit? By the way, I know that you're working across the aisle. Even in your campaign speech.
I am proudly the 18th most bipartisan senator in the Senate, which is a little bit of an achievement because in terms of seniority, until we get back in January, new Congress open. But in terms of seniority, out of 100, I'm number 100. Doesn't get any lower. You don't get any more junior than me. I'm even junior to young John Ossoff, and he's only 19 years old. He's the senior senator. I'm the junior senator.
For Georgia.
Even though we came in the same time. That's because his last name begins with an O and mine begins with a W. But he and I are great friends. Every now and then I look over at him and say, what a great achievement, O versus W. No, but he's a great guy. We work together and work very closely. But I am the 18th most bipartisan senator in the Senate. I've done bills I did a bill with Ted Cruz.
Really?
An amendment. We were getting ready to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Yeah, which is really necessary.
Yeah, by the way, I think this is what happens when you send a pastor to the Senate. I think infrastructure is spiritual. I think it's about the house that we live in together.
Yeah.
and the recognition that, yeah, it's about roads and bridges and broadband and all of that, but it is the recognition that we live in this same house together. If you went to a family's home that had resources, I'm not talking about a poor family, that actually had resources, and they were sitting there having dinner, and it was literally raining on the dining room table. The roof was caving in, the grass was 2 feet tall, the fence needed painting. You wouldn't ask, what's wrong with this house? You would ask, what's wrong with the people in that house, that they can't create the wherewithal, they can't come together enough to fix their own house?
We call that deferred maintenance in real estate.
Exactly. So for me, broken streets and bridges and broken schools are a reflection of the brokenness in our politics, of poverty, not of resources, but of moral imagination.
Moral imagination.
The failure to recognize that we live in this house. And so I'm glad after threatening to do it for a generation or more, we finally passed a robust, bipartisan infrastructure bill. And while we were doing that, a strange thing happened. It's called the Warnock-Cruz Amendment. Ted Cruz and I are on the same committee. We are both on the Commerce Committee. Most of the time, honestly, no shade to my Republican friends out there, but most of the time Ted's talking, I'm wondering, really? I'm thinking, you got dressed to come here to say that? But as it turns out, I'm seeing some of my Republican friends out here. So as it turns out, one day there was something he wanted to get done that I also wanted to get done, and we couldn't get it done in committee because of the rules of the Senate. We had to take it to the floor of the Senate. The night we passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, Senator Cruz stood up and made his argument about why he thought we should do this thing. And then it came my turn. I stood up, made my argument, and then I closed with words I'd never imagined hearing myself say. I said, Mr. President, in closing, I'd like to associate myself with the words of the senator from Texas, Ted Cruz. And the chamber burst into both laughter and applause. Even Mitch McConnell was smiling. They couldn't believe it. And they passed it overwhelmingly. I think 80 of my colleagues probably don't know what was in the amendment, but they said if he's for it and he's for it, they passed it. And someone might wonder, and Twitter was ablaze that night, like, what's going on here? What could Raphael Warnock and Ted Cruz be working on together? Well, there's a road in Texas that right now is 25 miles long. He wants to build it out. I say it's a road, it's actually I-14, Interstate 14. He wants to build it out. He wanted to simply name it a priority corridor to get us closer to getting the resources to get it built out. Well, the same road that runs through Texas runs through Georgia. It runs through blue communities and red communities. It runs through what Parliament, I'm showing my age, talked about chocolate cities and vanilla suburbs. All kinds of, and if we get the road built out, nobody asks, are you a Republican or a Democrat? Some people will be going to the church, some will be going to the temple, others will be going to the mosque, some will be going to the bar. But if we build the road out, everybody can get to where they need to go. Those who are working and the people they work for, essential workers and CEOs, all get on the same road to get to where they're going. And so here's what guides my work as a legislator. There is a road that runs through our humanity that's bigger than partisan politics, that's bigger, certainly bigger than the racial divide, bigger than geographical differences, and our job is to make haste to that road that connects our humanity. And that's the work that I feel called to do. I'm honored to do it every single day on behalf of the people of Georgia. I come back to my pulpit every Sunday morning. I'm a little weary because I preached this morning. You ever been to a Black Baptist church? I mean, we work hard. My Presbyterian brothers and sisters, they deliver a nice little essay on Sunday. We work hard. I return to my pulpit every Sunday morning, and to the people of Ebenezer and to this community to stay grounded, because I'm afraid that if I spend all of my time talking to politicians, I might accidentally become one. And what I hope to be is not a politician, because politics for me is just a tool, it's not my project. My project is change.
That's it.
And
that's it.
Politics is a tool. And at some point, or at some day, I'm gonna put that tool down. It didn't happen last Tuesday, much to some people's chagrin. We weren't ready to put it down last Tuesday, but at some point I'll put this tool down. But what keeps you authentic is knowing what your project is.
That's right.
And my project is change. It's building what Dr. King called the beloved community. It's building God's kingdom imbued with love and justice. My faith informs that work, not in a way that's disrespectful of people who have other faith traditions or who claim no faith tradition at all, but I'm talking about those values of compassion and justice and love and mercy that guide all of the great faith traditions. That's what guides my work. That's what Jonathan and Verlene Warnock poured into me all those years ago. And you're looking at a man who's filled with deep, deep gratitude and a beneficiary of God's grace, and I just want to share that with others.
We're having some church in here, aren't we?
Does that mean I get to raise the offering?
You might. And indirectly, you already have on re-election. I tell you, it's an interesting factoid. I'm because of what I do here at Operation Hope in my life, I don't engage in partisan politics. You know that. I don't endorse people. The first time I'm aware of in history, my history, I did it very quietly, did it very simply. I put an IG post of you, and my wife and I went and voted, and I said we voted, and I said I voted for Reverend Warnock. But it was my way of saying that you are important enough, and it was symbolic enough, and it was historic, and you're the right man at the right time, that I thought that it was important to send a message.
Thank you.
That this is something that had to be done. There was no other choice. There was no other choice. So as we wrap up, I've got two thoughts. You remind me of two things, Reverend Dr. Senator Warnock, friend. One is that you actually, and it's hit me where we're sitting here, you represent the three Reconstructions. The first Reconstruction was freedom after the Civil War, and really it was our ecumenical leaders that led us through that.
Yep.
Where was the people, really, that led us through that? But it was a spiritual calling. Let me frame it properly. It was a spiritual calling, as you said. Then the second Reconstruction was really about access during the Civil Rights Movement. And the church had a role in that, and people had a role in that, but it became political. It became about public policy. You're doing that second role. And then the third Reconstruction, between 2020 and 2030, I think is about opportunity. And the color is green. It's not black or white or red or blue, which is why I think you're working across the aisle, trying to get it done. That's about opportunity. That's free enterprise. That's economics. That's opportunity. You're serving on the banking committee. You actually represent the only person I know of in the Senate that actually can speak with absolute authority on all 3 reconstructions. You also remind me of Dr. King's story of him and Dr. Andrew Young were in Israel, and a reporter came to him and asked him about the Jericho Road. You know the story? For the sake of the audience.
Yeah.
Reporter came to Dr. King and says, "You remind me of a good Samaritan on the Jericho Road." And Dr. King didn't say a word. And then later on, Ambassador Young asked him, "Why didn't you comment on that?" He said, "Well, Andy," he called him Andy, "I like the Good Samaritan. We respect the Good Samaritan. We need Good Samaritans. But I don't want to be the Good Samaritan." He said, "Andy, that infrastructure, that road is dangerous. It's unpaved. It's uncared for. It's unkept. There are blind corners. There are people laying in wait to rob people I care about. There are no street lights up. Andy, we got to pave the Jericho Road. We got to put street lights up along the Jericho Road. We need small business owners along the Jericho Road. We need to create homeowners along the Jericho Road. We need energy along the Jericho Road. Andy, we need people who can repair the Jericho Road." That's what our future calls for. And what I didn't understand is that 50 plus years later, in his very pulpit at Ebenezer Church, he was calling forth Reverend Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock. Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you to my friend, Senator Warnock.
Thank you.
That's it?
All right, brother.
And on behalf, it's my first one I'm giving to this. It's our 30th anniversary.
Very nice.
On behalf of a grateful nation, on behalf of a grateful friend, on behalf of an organization that you encouraged to do good when we thought we couldn't, of putting our first hope inside of a place of worship at historic Ebenezer Church. 30 Years of Hope Legacy Leadership Award presented to Senator Raphael Warnock at the Hope 2022 Hope Global Forum. Our first ever award to a U.S. Senator, Raphael Warnock. Please join me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you, man. Love you, man. Thank you. Reverend Ben. Hey, good to see you.
Proud of you. Got our shoes on. Proud of you, brother. All right. How was that? You still awake? You're not ready to go home yet, are you? We're about to close it out now. We're so grateful to have Senator Warnock with us. At this time, as we get to the closing part of our gathering this evening, I'd like to invite a customer of Operation Openside to our Hope Inside network in Columbus, Georgia, Miss Savon Walker. Let's give her a round of applause. Come on up, Savon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Savannah Walker, and for 4 decades, I lived in some type of financial dysfunction and trauma. In 2015, my 7 children and I escaped a polygamous relationship. I am the proud mom of 11 children. I have 5 sons and 6 daughters. Throughout all of the trauma and the things that we experienced, my children were dedicated to being servants, to being good leaders, and devoted to education. The oldest children graduating from colleges such as Columbus State, University of West Georgia, University of Georgia, Yale University, Columbia University, and now attending Vanderbilt University. Through this experience, we were homeless twice. However, it did not stop the motivation and the willpower to have a better life. In 2018, I began the financial journey along with the emotional and mental journey of healing. And through that journey, I met my coach, Mike Leonez of Operation Hope through Synovus Bank. Operation Hope has been a lifesaver in so many ways. My coach demonstrating care, patience, love, and understanding gave me the tools through financial literacy to become a first-time homeowner. Through this journey, my credit score has improved 200 points at least. I'm well close to 800 points. So I'm so excited and so overwhelmed to be a part of the Operation Hope family. And I will never forget all of the benefits of being a part of this organization. Thank you so much, and it's a great honor.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
And it's fitting that Ms. Walker gave her testimony because, this is really what the work is about, changing lives. I've been doing this for 30 years. Still got my hair, by the way. Long time. And she represents the over 250 coaches in 200 cities, thanks to our partners, that we're able to have this type of impact. And I tell our coaches many times, because they're focusing on being of service and helping people, that you're having an impact on lives, generational lives. And so Ms. Walker really represents the great work that all of our coaches are doing. And so with that said, I want to have Brett Billick come up from Self Financial, fintech company that's helping people with being credible, credit responsible, and savings responsible. And Brett was very kind to sponsor this one of the last segments of our evening, because he and Self Financial recognize what are we doing for the coaches to acknowledge the great work they're doing. And so thanks to his kind generosity, we're able to fly 3 of our coaches from various parts of the U.S. that represent all of the 250 coaches that are doing the hard work. And so if I can have, not in any order, Eric Clay from Los Angeles with our Union Bank partnership. Pre Oliver, come on up, with our Fulton Bank Hope Inside in Philadelphia. And last but not least, Mike Linez, who Ms. Walker referenced, who's with Synovus Bank. Now, Mike started with us back in LA, and he picked up roots and came out to Georgia. He also represented us at the Emirates many years ago, bringing financial literacy to the Middle East. And so all 3 of them, you guys come over here. You're going to need to get behind me. You guys are stars. They represent the great work that all of our coaches are doing. And so give them and all of our coaches a round of applause for what they do. Eric's been with us for 20 years. We got stories, which I won't bore you with. Mike, 8 years, and Pre Oliver, 4 years. And they are really the true representation of the great work that we're doing. And I thank all of our sponsors, our partners for over the years, because without their support, we don't do what we do. So on behalf of Self Financial and Brett's the Chief Marketing Officer with Self Financial, we're going to give each of them $1,000 for us saying thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're at the final part of our event, and have you been having a good time so far? You ready for some more tomorrow? All right. You see it. There's a lot of buzz here. It's our 30th anniversary, and it's been a lot of great work. I want to acknowledge, got some of my LA people who I started with, John and I started with in LA. Is John Ruzan still here with Vermont Slauson? If so, stand up, Joe. If you is still here. Feresi, stand on up. These are the pioneers that worked with John and I back in Los Angeles in 1992. Stephen Turner, you still here, Stephen Turner? See him back there? Absolutely. I don't know if we have the West Angeles family here, Dr. Allen, Lula Bolton, and others, but it's important for me to recognize them because when John had this vision in 1992, no one knew what financial literacy was about. What is that? And so Operation Hope, right after the civil unrest, Reverend Murray from First AME Church in LA and others came together, Bishop Blake, West Angeles Church, and many others just really came together, Mayor Tom Bradley at the time, to really come as a coalition to address the situation at the time with something positive. And that was, how can we help people become stakeholders in the communities that we serve? We started in LA, and now we're in over 40 states thanks to all of our partners. And so I just want to thank all of you for being here. This is a special 2 or 3 days for us. A lot of work has been happening in 30 years, and so we're really blessed to have all of you here. And so we have one last award that we want to acknowledge. I hope I don't get emotional. Not because of you. I ain't getting emotional over you. Get on back there. He from Compton, y'all. He from Compton. But where's my other mom at? Miss Juanita Smith, the queen. Come on up here, Mom. I've known John's mother, Juanita Smith, for as long as I've known John, obviously, 35 years, I believe. And, you know, she has just been a force in both of our lives, helping us. That's right. I'm going to turn it over to John in a second. But that's the queen right here. Raised us 2 knuckleheads from Compton and Carson. And Mom, we love you. We have something special for you. I'm going to have your son say something loving about you, but we're giving you the 30 Years of Hope Legacy Leadership Award. Let's give a round of applause, a standing ovation for Juanita Smith, Mom and Queen of Hope. Go on and say something about your mom. Come on, Mom. It's all right.
Apologies for that.
It's all right. Take your time. She put up with us for 30 years. I guess he, you know.
She told me she loved me every day of my life. Single mother. I'll say it, abused, domestic abuse. It was all about her children. And walked out, lived with somebody else, raised money to buy her first home, she'd say our first home, built generational wealth, worked an hourly job. I thought my mother worked at my school. I didn't realize she was just being an irritant. She was there so often I thought she was an employee. And then when a job came available as a janitor, she had been laid off by Donald Douglas Aircraft. She refused to take welfare. She went to the job as a janitor so she could spend time with her child. I don't know superheroes on this earth, but I know my mother. And if you like,
it's all right.
If you like anything I'm doing, if you support anything I'm doing, then please say thank you to my mother.
We love you, Mom. That's the queen right there.
You want to say something, buddy?
Thank you all for your...
Step up a little closer. There you go.
Thanks to all of you for you to thank you. I did what a mother's supposed to do, is take care of the children till they get able to take care of themselves. And I think I did that.
On that note, we'll just drop the mic. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Major, right? It's Major, right?
Yeah.
You're about to hear from Major.
What if I told you hope was the key? Would you believe me? Well, you should. Because hope is not only the key, it's the major key. See what I did there? Will you? Nah, but for real. Contrary to popular belief, hope isn't pretending your current struggle ain't real. Beautiful people. It's actually a brave champion mindset and posture to take in the midst of it all. Storm or sunshine. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hope is not the denial of reality. It's a commitment to believe greater is on the other side of it. So you can either choose to be dragged along by the hardship of your current circumstances into things finally working out, or you can commit your mind to knowing that if you simply get through this, you'll eventually walk into all things being well in due season. Brighter days are coming. Brighter days. And there's light at the end of this tunnel. There is light. Reverend Jesse Jackson's been saying it for years. Keep hope alive. That right there is the major key. Hope. It's a powerful thing.
Hey, beautiful people. If there's love in the room, make some noise. If there's hope in the room, make some noise. Yesterday, I loved you. Today, I think I love you even more. Yeah, yeah. Yesterday I needed you. Today feels like I need you even more. Yeah, yeah. Even more than all the oxygen I breathe. Even more than all the water in the sea. Yeah, yeah. Yesterday I wanted you. Now I know I want you even more. Can we say one more? Yesterday I loved you. Now I know I love you even more. Yeah. Yesterday I needed you. Today feels like I need you even more. Even more than every star in midnight sky. Even more than an eternity of time. Yeah, yeah. Yesterday I wanted you. Now I know I want you even more. Everybody say you. When you wrap your arms around me, it feels like home. Love, you take away my lonely, never alone. Yes, you are the very best thing, and even better. Altogether, we're the greatest blessing when we do it together. Everybody say, right where you are, sing. Yesterday I wanted you. Now I know I want you even more. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Major. That's the name my mama named me, so make some noise for my mama. I see the Queen Mama Hope over here, and my mama, and I'm sure there's some mamas in the building right now. So if you're a mama in a building, make some noise for yourself. I love my mama a whole lot, like a lot. It's an honor to be here. I was invited by John Hope Bryant a while back when we finally met after I had already said, we're going to work together one day, because hope has always been my mission. Even as a singer, I sing from a perspective of understanding that love is full of hope, that faith, you can't get to it unless you have it, because even biblically we understand it to say that faith is a substance of things what? The evidence of things not yet seen. So I lean into that, my sister. I lean into it unapologetically because I understand that hope is not just a cliche with no power. As a matter of fact, I think cliches were intended to be repeated over and over again divinely so that as it's repeated, we finally get it. Hope is an anchor. It's powerful. It's necessary. And it's also your permission to believe for greater while in the midst of your circumstance. I want to thank every single one of you in this room because as they call me the hope dealer, it's clear that you all share the same pedigree. We make the world a better place when we hope. This is a song about the hope and love. A love letter that I wrote to God and love wrote me back. Beautiful people, we're about to make a movie. This is why I love you. I found love in you, and I've learned to love me too. Never have I felt that I could be all that you see. It's like our hearts have intertwined into the perfect harmony. This is why I love you. This is why I love because you love me. You love me. This is why I love you. This is why I love you. Because you love me. You love me. I found love, and I found it in you. And no other love will do. No. Every moment that you smile, it chases all the pain away. Forever and a while, in my heart is where you'll stay. Can you help me sing? This is why I love. If you got it, please sing it with me. This is why I love. Because you love me. You love me. We all sing. This is why I love. Oh. This is why I love. Because you love me. You love me. You do. The stars have all aligned, and right now is a perfect time to say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I do. This is why I love you. This is why I love you. Because you love me. You love me. This is why I love you. This is why I love you. Because you love me. You do. I found love, and I found it in you. There ain't no other love that will do. So I'll say, I love you. Turn the music up. Turn my mic up. Beautiful people, everybody on your feet right now. If there is love and hope in the room, I need to hear you loud on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Make some noise. Please don't underestimate the power of love. It's great. It is tremendous. And hope is its fuel. It's its gas. It gets it to the places that even our words can't get to. This is why I love you. Everybody sing it out. This is why I love. Everybody sing it out. This is why I love. Everybody sing it out. This is why I love. I don't hear you sing it out. This is why I love. You get a rose just like that. Everybody sing it out. One more again, one more again. I see you over here. I found love and beautiful people. I found it in you. My fellow hope dealers, there ain't no other love that will do. So I'll say, I love you. I love you. My name is Major, and I approve that message. God bless you. I'll see you this week.
can't resist. There's something in the air, I don't know why. You were hardly there when I was on my own. There's something about you that makes me cry. Can I believe that your heart still beats for me? Let me receive a sign that you're my destiny. I wanna know, give me a reason for me to believe it. Can't you see it in my eyes that I need a reason for I'm still breathing? Is it time to say goodbye? 'Cause deep in my heart I know there's a reason why I'm not leaving, why I'm not alone. So give me a reason for me to believe it. Give me a reason. Give me a reason. Something in your eyes still takes my breath away. Something's deep inside, please tell me why.